Greetings everyone, welcome back to UNYP Education. I'm your virtual psychologist and statistical teacher, Raffaele, and today we're going to demystify one of the most commonly used statistical techniques in psychology and beyond, correlation. As you all know, you must have heard it from your teacher, parents, priest, literally whomever on the street. Correlation doesn't mean causation, or, well, actually I would say our medias often try to push this belief. So, what does it mean when we say correlation doesn't mean causation? It means that correlation is a statistical technique that helps us understand the relationship between two variables. Meaning, is there a connection? If one variable changes, does the other change too? And if so, how? However, what correlation doesn't achieve is to tell us whether one of our variables causes the other. The fact that they happen, the fact that two things are correlated, does not imply the fact that one causes the other. And keep this in mind. So, there are several types of correlation, but we will focus on two of the most commonly used, Pearson correlation and Spearman correlation. So, Pearson's correlation, also known as Pearson's R, keep in mind the italic for APA, measures the linear relationship between two continuous variables. In our case, we have life satisfaction and self-esteem. If we have these two variables, Pearson's R can tell us how closely these two variables move together in the same or opposite direction. So, the more of life satisfaction, the more of self-esteem, the more self-esteem, the less life satisfaction, what is going to be? On the other hand, we have Spearman's correlation or Spearman's RHO, R-H-O, which measures the monotonic relationship between two variables. And these variables could be continuous or usually ordinal. Continuous are also for Pearson, ordinal are generally for Spearman. Of course, they can be in both cases the other. It tells us the same whether these variables move together, but not necessarily at the same constant rate. But let us leave these technicalities for some more advanced statistical classes. And one way for you to distinguish when to do Pearson and when to do Spearman would be based on whether your data, your variables, are normally distributed. Spearman, in your case, you may use it when the data are not normally distributed, whereas Pearson, you can use it as when data are normally distributed. However, other statisticians might use, different parameters. But this is the CAT score, something you absolutely should keep in mind. As aforementioned, in psychological research, correlations are incredibly useful, even though they are not anymore used in the 21st century, at least in the second decade of the 21st century. They're not used as a standalone article analysis, but they're used more as a complementary way of attesting our hypothesis. Because, as I mentioned, correlation doesn't mean causation. So, nowadays, industry will not usually publish articles which are just reporting correlations. And let us return to the previous example about whether life satisfaction could be associated with self-esteem. Before jumping into correlation, we must, as said before, test whether our variables are normally or not normally distributed. In Jamovi, we will have to go to the Exploration tab, click on Descriptives, and insert both variables here. After, we will have to check some boxes. Most of the times for your classes, you will not need to handle missing data, so you can skip the missing check. Sample, you will have it here as in almost any other table. Mean, median will be useful. Standard deviation, range, and then as you can see here, we have normality. So we will have to click on it and check the P. In this case, life satisfaction is normally distributed because the P is above the 0.05 threshold, whereas self-esteem is not. In order to tackle this, we will be safer and go for a Spearman correlation. So, we will go into Analysis, Regression, Correlation Matrix, put both of them. into the new log, and instead of Pearson we will click on Spearman, or if you want you can have both of them to see the differences. You can put, if you want, the number of people, however it is not usual, and you can also put significant correlation. But however, this tab will be more, like this box here will be more useful if you will have like a lot of variables and you just want to check immediately which of those will have a significant result, a significant association. In this case we have no significancy, so we will just keep it. As you can see from this table, as I said, we do not have significance, in as much as both, even though the row, the Spearman's row is the one we want here, they are both not significant, in as much as they are above the 0.05 threshold. But let us imagine this time that we are instead researching the relationship between self-esteem and merit satisfaction. Again, we will have to go to exploration and check whether our data are normally or not normally distributed. I will skip all the description as before, we'll just click on Shapiro wheel, and both of them are normally distributed in as much as they are above the 0.05 threshold. So, which correlation will we do? I will show you right now. Think about the answer. So, you put both of them, and as you probably correctly guessed, we will have to go for a Pearson correlation coefficient. In this case, we have a significant positive correlation. So, this is what I was mentioning before. As you will see, if you have like 10 variables, you will see this immediately. But let us comment a bit on this table over here. What does a significant positive correlation mean? The fact that it is positive, it means that the two variables are going in the same direction, meaning the more self-esteem a person will have, the more the person will be satisfied with their marriage. And what if the association, if this correlation would be negative, meaning that instead of 0.567 would be minus 0.567? In that case, as you probably guessed, will mean the opposite, meaning that the two variables are going in opposite direction, meaning the less self-esteem I have, the more I will be satisfied in my marriage. Well, that will be an interesting finding for a psychologist. Remember, correlation does not imply causation. I have to tell you one more time, meaning that it's not self-esteem causing marriage satisfaction. No. The two are simply associated, related, correlated, comparable, going in the same direction or in the opposite direction, going hand in hand with each other, but they are not causing one or the other. So this was a brief overview of correlation, and hopefully you were able to understand something about this process and how to use it, and especially how not to use it. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to UNYP Education. Join us on this exciting journey through the world of statistics. Until next time, I'm Raffaele, and remember, making sense of stats is a skill you can learn, and I'm here to help.